Have you ever wondered how Canada, the second largest country in the world, came to be? Imagine a land stretching from the Atlantic to the Pacific, rich with diverse cultures, breathtaking landscapes, and a history as deep as its numerous lakes. How did this vast expanse of wilderness evolve into a thriving nation, known for its kindness, inclusivity, and love of hockey? Intrigued? Curious? You should be. Well, stay with us as we delve into the fascinating history of this great nation. Our story begins over 15,000 years ago, in a time when the land we now call Canada was a vast, unbroken wilderness. The first inhabitants of this great expanse were the indigenous peoples, who lived in harmony with the land, adapting their lifestyles to the harsh realities and the magnificent splendor of the terrain. From the icy Arctic in the north to the temperate rainforests of the Pacific Northwest, from the flat, grassy plains of the prairie provinces to the rugged Appalachian Mountains of the east, these diverse groups of people thrived. They hunted, fished, and gathered, living off the bountiful land and its abundant wildlife. They developed rich cultures with their own languages, traditions, and mythologies, each as varied and vibrant as the landscapes they called home. The indigenous peoples were not just passive inhabitants of the land, they were its stewards. They understood the intricate balance of nature and made conscious efforts to maintain it. They practiced sustainable farming, hunting, and fishing techniques, ensuring not only their survival but also the preservation of the ecosystems they depended on. In the vast forests of the east, the Iroquoian peoples cultivated corn, beans, and squash, known as the Three Sisters, which formed the backbone of their diet. Meanwhile, in the western plains, the plains peoples hunted buffalo, using every part of the animal for food, clothing, shelter, and tools, leaving nothing to waste. The Inuit, dwelling in the harsh Arctic regions, developed impressive survival techniques to thrive in the extreme cold. They hunted seals, whales, and polar bears, using ingenious tools and strategies that had been honed over countless generations. These first peoples were the original explorers, navigators, farmers, and conservationists of the land. Their legacy is woven into the very fabric of Canada, shaping its identity and values. Their deep respect for nature, their understanding of sustainable living, and their rich cultural heritage are all integral parts of the Canadian ethos. These First Nations set the stage for the Canada we know today. Now, imagine the year 1497, when a new chapter in Canada's history was about to unfold. As the dawn of the 15th century broke, a new era was on the horizon, an era of exploration, discovery, and unfortunately, colonization. It was in this year, 1497, that a certain Italian explorer by the name of John Cabot, commissioned by England, set sail across the vast Atlantic Ocean in search of a quicker route to Asia. Instead, Cabot stumbled upon the shores of what we now know as Canada, marking the first recorded European contact with North America since the Vikings. Following Cabot, a string of explorers from various European countries, notably France and England, were drawn to this new land, lured by the promise of abundant resources and uncharted territories. They brought with them their own cultures, languages, and more importantly, their desire for expansion. The arrival of these European explorers, however, was not without consequences. The indigenous peoples of Canada, who had been living in harmony with the land for thousands of years, found their lives disrupted. The Europeans introduced new technologies, trade goods, and sadly diseases to which the indigenous peoples had no immunity. This led to massive population declines among the indigenous communities, altering their way of life forever. But it wasn't all doom and gloom. The Europeans and the indigenous peoples often traded with each other, exchanging goods, knowledge, and cultural practices. This exchange shaped the unique multicultural fabric of Canada that we see today. Over time, more and more Europeans arrived, establishing colonies, trading posts, and settlements. They brought with them their families, their dreams, and their desire for a new life. This influx of European settlers began to transform the face of Canada significantly. From the dense, untouched forests and the vast, pristine lakes to the bustling, vibrant cities and the diverse, multicultural societies, the arrival of the Europeans set the stage for the Canada we know today. The impact of their arrival is undeniable and is deeply woven into the tapestry of Canada's rich and diverse history. And so the face of Canada began to change. Fast forward to the 19th century, when Canada started to take shape as we know it today. Our tale now takes us to the mid-19th century. The year is 1867, a pivotal moment in Canada's history. This was the time of the Confederation, an event that marked the birth of modern Canada. The British North America Act was passed, uniting 3 colonies into a single country within the British Empire. These 3 colonies, Ontario, Quebec, and New Brunswick, along with Nova Scotia, came together to form a federation. This was the first step towards the Canada we know and love today. But the Confederation wasn't just about merging territories, it also laid down the groundwork for Canada's political system. The British North America Act provided a constitution for the new nation, outlining the structures and powers of the federal and provincial governments. While the British monarch was the head of state, the governance of the country was to be carried out by elected representatives. This set the stage for Canada's journey as a parliamentary democracy. However, the Confederation of 1867 was just the beginning. Over the next few decades, other provinces and territories joined the Federation. Manitoba and the Northwest Territories came on board in 1870, followed by British Columbia and Prince Edward Island. By the turn of the century, Alberta and Saskatchewan had also become part of Canada, completing the jigsaw puzzle of the nation's geography. The joining of these provinces and territories was more than just a geographical expansion. It was a coming together of diverse cultures, languages, and traditions. It was the formation of a unique Canadian identity, one that celebrated diversity and embraced inclusivity. This period of nation building wasn't without its challenges. There were debates and disagreements, conflicts and compromises, but through it all, Canada emerged as a strong, unified nation. Its political system evolved, its economy grew, and its cultural landscape flourished. By this time, Canada had established itself as a nation to be reckoned with. The formation of modern Canada was not just about drawing boundaries on a map, but about creating a nation that stood for freedom, diversity, and democracy. As we step into the 20th century, Canada's identity continues to evolve, navigating through a series of significant global events and emerging with a unique and diverse cultural identity. The 2 world wars of the early 20th century had profound effects on Canada. The country entered the First World War as a British dominion, but emerged with a newfound sense of national pride and independence. The Second World War saw Canada play a more assertive role, contributing significantly to the Allied effort and further asserting its independence on the world stage. Between these 2 wars, Canada, like much of the world, grappled with the Great Depression. It was a period of severe economic downturn, marked by widespread unemployment and poverty. Yet it was also a time that saw the resilience of the Canadian spirit, as the nation rallied together to weather the storm. As the century progressed, Canada began to embrace a more inclusive identity. The push for bilingualism became a key part of this evolution. English and French, the 2 official languages, became emblematic of Canada's commitment to diversity and inclusivity. It was a bold step towards acknowledging and preserving the country's rich Francophone heritage while also accommodating its diverse Anglophone population. Similarly, the later part of the 20th century saw a growing push for multiculturalism. Canada became home to a melting pot of cultures, with immigrants from around the globe adding to the nation's rich tapestry. The Multiculturalism Act of 1988 solidified this commitment to diversity, making Canada one of the first countries in the world to adopt multiculturalism as official policy. These key developments of the 20th century have shaped the Canada we know today. A nation proud of its history, yet always looking to the future. A country defined by its diversity, its resilience, and its ongoing commitment to inclusivity and equality. By the close of the 20th century, Canada had truly come into its own. Now, in the 21st century, Canada stands as a beacon of diversity, inclusion, and natural beauty. Our journey through time has taken us from the early beginnings of this great nation, where indigenous peoples thrived in harmony with the land, to the arrival of Europeans, forever changing the face of what would become Canada. We've traced the formation of modern Canada, a process marked by conflict, compromise, and ultimately, unity. We've witnessed the transformative events of the 20th century, from world wars that tested Canada's mettle to social and political changes that shaped its identity. But through all these trials and tribulations, Canada has emerged stronger, more diverse, and more inclusive. Today, Canada is a tapestry of cultures, a mosaic of peoples, a testament to the power of diversity. It's a place where nature's majesty is on full display, from the rugged Rocky Mountains to the tranquil Great Lakes, from the vast Arctic tundra to the vibrant cityscapes. Canada's rich and complex history is a story of resilience and renewal. It's a story that teaches us that despite our differences, we can come together to build something beautiful. It's a story that continues to unfold as Canada navigates the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century. And so we see how Canada, this vast and varied land, has been shaped by its rich and complex history. Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning.